And when a man has been conditioned by society to hate and fear his homosexuality, this reorientation can be a very great relief.
Mind sciences, or the study of human behavior in relation to the mind, is the newest of all the arts. It's less than 100 years old. And it is by far the one that is most cloaked in secrecy.
The origins of psychological warfare were in Nazi Germany, and in the Nazi ideology they had something that was called Weltanschauungskrieg, which means worldview warfare. The idea for them was imposing the Nazi worldview on the countries that they had occupied. The Americans picked up this idea, created an American version of it, and called that psychological warfare. In trying to understand psychological warfare and in trying to understand the American approach to the post-war efforts to control people's minds, both as individuals and on a mass scale, there's a lot of illusions about how that was done. Were Nazis involved in that process? Yes, they were.
Project Paperclip was a United States government-sanctioned CIA operation for the importation of Nazi and fascist scientists into the United States. Their statement was simply this: if we don't bring these people into this country and contain them, then our enemies, the Soviet Union, will get them. The first wave was to bring these scientists. There was 700 odd propulsion scientists, and then there were some 600 and some odd mind sciences people that they brought in. The CIA was given the responsibility of actually placing the individuals out of Project Paperclip into the military-industrial complex, including our colleges and universities. Mind control was a psychological warfare weapon that Adolf Hitler regarded as the answer for taking over the entire planet. The name for the mind control research in this country was MK-Ultra.
MK-Ultra was one program of a series of programs that came out of the CIA to experiment with different types of mind control, using drugs, using electroshock, using insulin shock, and other techniques.
I think that the goal for those people who planned the program was very straightforward. It was an attempt to figure out a way to interrogate people and to learn how to protect their own agents against control by others. If you put someone in a position of being disabled by not feeding them or not allowing them to sleep or overwhelming them with sound, if you use massive shock treatment and you give people massive doses of drugs such as PCP or mescaline or amphetamines or LSD, and if you put them in periods of darkness where they can't predict from one minute to another what is going to happen next, so they're always dreading, there's no consistency to sort of what's going to happen, anybody can be put in a position of being open to brainwashing. Ewan Cameron was probably the foremost psychiatrist of his time in the 1950s. He was using high-tech sound techniques. He was using multiple kinds of loop recorders to force people to listen to recorded messages 24 hours a day for weeks on end to basically destroy people's thinking patterns.
He injected the lysergic acid into the vein, and he patted me on the shoulder and said, "Now there, lassie, we'll see you later." And I started to feel very frightened, and the fright became a terror. And I sort of began throwing myself from one side of the room to the other. I didn't know what to do to stop this feeling. It felt like my bones were melting, that I just didn't know who I was anymore.
This is not just break-ins of people's homes. It's not just invasions of privacy by illegal wiretapping. This is an invasion of a person's mind. And that is about as profound an injury, except for loss of life, that the government can impose.
This was a post-Nazi program, if you will. It was an Americanization.
I've often made the statement, and I still make it flippantly, the Nazis didn't lose the war. They just had to move.
Now it's 50 years later. Now they're much more clever, they're much more sophisticated, they have a lot more money to spend.
It is believed that the human brain has the capacity to receive and later remember 10 new items of information for every second in the average human lifetime. During his lifetime, the average man eats about 50 tons of food. The record for bigamy is held by a woman who claimed to have married 63 men. Most of us spend 1/3 of our lives in bed. An average of 400 million sperm are contained in a single human ejaculation. The average American television viewer watches 6.5 hours of television a day.
Free housing, free transportation, free everything for everybody. There it is. There's no reason why this can't go into effect right now. The fifth point is free access to the information media and to the technology for all the people. We believe that people should be able to have control of television stations, radio stations, and we shouldn't have to put up with the crap that we get from these people now because they want to keep our vision limited, and they don't want us to see what can be done with this stuff.
And the aim of this is to give you, the user, the person, the individual, the power to change what's on the screen. Because in the 20th century, if you can't change what's on the screen, if you can't orchestrate, direct, and move these electrons around, your mind and your life is being controlled by the people who do control the screen. That's ABC, KGB, NBC, CIA.
Now look at your late evening news, if you can bear it. Look at it. It's 30 minutes, 9 minutes of ads, 3 minutes of street crime right at the beginning, never corporate crime, very superficially covered, 1 minute of impromptu chit-chat between the anchors, 4 minutes of weather, 4 minutes of sports, and that's what happened in your town tonight? And we own the public airwaves. It's a disgrace. It's time to have our own. avaricious corporations. It is time for a change. The system is not working. This is a message of hope.
Casting your vote shouldn't make you sick.
In this new global economy, we lose our desire, our power, and our vision. In any part of the world, there are men and women who choose the path of least resistance, who accept lives of fear and isolation. But we will respond to death with life. We will respond to the nightmare with the dream. We will fight and imagine and create. And we will resist.